Hello and welcome to lesson 1 of the course Verbal Ability and Reading Comprehension for CAT by me Angad Singh. I am a student at IIM Calcutta batch of 2018. You can follow me on this URL unacademy.com/user/angad or you can mention your doubts in the comments section. The topic that we are going to start this course off with is Parajumbles. And as you know, this is the section that has become slightly difficult with the introduction of the type in answers. You need to be absolutely certain of the answer. Earlier you had options from which you could eliminate a few, but now you need to be absolutely certain of the entire sequence. So you'll have 4 or 5 sentences and you'll have to arrange them in a coherent paragraph. You know that already. Okay, so the pedagogy of this course is gonna be in a way which involves very little theory and mostly looking at the way I approach a problem. So that is something that I felt was missing in my preparation. That is something that I would have loved to have during my preparation, looking at somebody else solve a problem, the way they approach a problem, the way their mind works during an exam setting, solving a question within 2 to 3 minutes that we get in an exam. And so that is how this course is designed to be. So what you can do is when a question arrives on screen, you can pause, you can try out your own solution, and then maybe we can discuss it, benchmark your own solution against mine. It's not a one size fits all approach, but it'll be a good starting point for you to probably check whether your preparation is going in the correct way or not, or this is the way that you would want to start your preparation or not. Okay, so let's start with a little bit of theory. Let's look at some frameworks. You can look them up all over the internet. I promise this is the last bit of heavy theory that I'm going to throw at you, and then we'll delve straight into questions. Okay, so the way we approach Parajumbles usually is through these basic frameworks. So the first one, opening closing sentences. So the opening sentences, just look at the way you would want to convey something to the reader. You would start off with a general statement, an opening statement that would give out the central idea of what you want to convey. So that is how you can identify an opening statement. It will have very little to or no reference to anything in the past. So it will probably be an independent one. Closing sentence, it will give you some conclusion. You'll get to know that this is the sentence with which we would want to close the entire paragraph. Noun pronoun relationship. Okay, so if there is a sentence which mentions a noun, only in a later sentence can it be referenced using a pronoun. So a sentence containing a noun will precede the one containing the sentence that contains the pronoun that references that noun. So that will help you form a pair, a mandatory pair in most cases. So that this is a very useful one. So general to specific. Again, when you introduce an idea, you go from the general. You go on introducing the general part of the central theme that you want to talk about, and then delve into specifics in a very gradual way. So the general statement will come first, and the specifics will be moved on into later on. Next approach we use is example follows hypothesis. So usually what you do is you hypothesize something, you theorize something, you propose a statement, and then use an example to substantiate your theory. So the hypothesis or the theory comes first, and that is followed by examples. In a very rare case, what would happen is an example is stated first, and then that example is used to explain the theory. So the example comes first, and then that example is used in a way that tells you the theory that the author wants to talk about. So this is something that when you practice with a lot of preparation, you'll develop an eye to catch the correct sequence. So that is one approach. Transition words, very helpful again. So words or phrases like therefore, for instance, but, however, moreover, they tell you how the flow of the paragraph is actually transitioning, what the structure is how the structure of the paragraph is changing. So these words will also tell you how to make mandatory pairs. So if let's say there's a statement starting with therefore, so you know that the current statement is explaining something that was mentioned in a preceding sentence. So you can form a pair using this. Mostly it will help you understand the transition in the flow of the idea that the paragraph is talking about. Chronological order, very simple, mostly used in cases where we talk of something in a timeline fashion. The earlier events come first, and then we gradually move on in a chronological order to the recent events. So no need to explain that. So these are basically the approaches that we use, but I never used any of these approach consciously. So with a decent level of practice, you'll be using them subconsciously in hindsight, You'll never actually think that, okay, right now I'm using general to specific approach. The questions should come in, the sequence that the paragraph is asking for should come in naturally. The most important thing is to use your common sense. That is very important. Just try to understand, if you were the author trying to convey something, how would you do it? Understand why the paragraph was ever written in the first place. What was the aim of that paragraph? And as an author, how would you want to convey something? Just follow that sequence. Try to follow that sequence. It is more LR, more logical reasoning than verbal ability, I would say. Less knowledge of English language, more of your common sense and logic is required. So let's move on. Let's look at one example. You can pause the video, you can try out your own solution. I'll also have a look at the question, then we can sort of look at my explanation to the solution. Okay, so I'll also go through it. Branded disposable diapers are available at many supermarkets and drugstores. Okay, looks like could be an opening sentence. There's no reference to anything in the past. Okay. If one supermarket sets a higher price for a diaper, customers may buy that brand elsewhere. Okay. By contrast, okay, so I know that there's going to be some transition, that this remaining part of the sentence will probably contradict or negate or provide a contrast to some other sentence that will precede it. The demand for private label products may be less price sensitive since it is available only at a corresponding supermarket chain. Okay, so we're talking about private label products. We are talking about price sensitivity. Okay, so the demand for branded diapers at any particular store may be quite price sensitive. Okay, we are talking about price sensitivity once more. We are talking about high price sensitivity, may be quite price sensitive, and we are talking about less price sensitivity in sentence C. So we can see some contrast here. So maybe the pair will be DC. D will come first, followed by C, which is providing the contrast. Okay. For instance, only Pampers drugstores will sell Pampers diapers. Okay, for instance. Okay, what you can see is, after looking at 4 sentences only, I didn't understand anything about the paragraph itself, about the central idea of the paragraph or the crux of this passage, but I know that I'm on to something. I already have a pair, already have a possible opening, and I can see that sentence E is also not an opener. So already you can see that with minimal knowledge, I am already on to something. I can sense that I am moving towards the solution. Okay, so sentence E. For instance, only Pampers drugstores sell Pampers diapers. Okay, so this gives me a hint of some exclusivity. Did we talk about exclusivity somewhere? We did. That yeah, it is available only at a corresponding supermarket chain. So this part talks of some level of exclusivity. It's for instance, so it has to act as an example to some sentence that precedes it. Okay. Then, stores should set a higher incremental margin percentage for private label diapers. Sounds like an advice, a recommendation should come towards the end. Could be the closing sentence, I don't know. Okay. Is A the opening sentence? B will not be the opening sentence because A is more general in nature. It sort of gives an idea of the branded disposable diapers being the availability of branded disposable diapers as the central theme. So I would rather go with A as the opening sentence than B. C will not be the opening sentence by contrast. D will not be the opening sentence. It gives some reasoning. E will not be the opening sentence. You'll never open a sentence or open a paragraph with an example like this. F will not be the opening sentence. It's more of a recommendation. So what I can see is opening sentence, 4 sentences of analysis, and then a closing recommendation. So this looks like the solution to me. A should be the opening sentence. What will follow A? That is a good question. What will follow A? Could it be B? Branded disposable diapers are available at many supermarkets and drugstores. Okay, fine. If one supermarket sets a higher price for a diaper, customers may buy that brand elsewhere. That is what price sensitivity means. D and C are the contrasting statements. By contrast, it will not be C. C will come after D. And is E the example for C? Yeah, available only at a corresponding supermarket chain. So the example for C is E. So CE, DCE. Okay. So we start off with A. Will D come first or will B come first? So the demand for branded diapers at any particular store may be quite price sensitive. Okay, got it. It'll be A, D, B. Confusion between D and B is very acceptable and it's bound to happen. Just try to understand why did D come first. Okay, so just have a look what will follow A logically speaking. Branded disposable diapers are available at many supermarkets and drugstores. So what will happen because of that? So demand for branded diapers at any particular store may be quite price sensitive. Now you theorized this price sensitivity, and in B you're sort of giving an example, you're sort of explaining it further. You gave out a theory in D that the demand for branded diapers may be quite price sensitive, and now you're explaining that price sensitivity in B. If one supermarket sets a higher price for a diaper, customers may buy that brand elsewhere. So this is the theoretical part that we talk about in D, which is being explained further in B. So A, D, B, C, E, F should be the answer. Let's have a look. A, D, B, C, E, F. Correct. Let's have a look at the approaches that we used. We used opening closing sentence, made our life very easy looking at A. Closing sentence also we used. Noun pronoun relationship we didn't use in this one. General to specific again we used. We got to know that the opening sentence only from the general to specific approach. Example follows hypothesis. We got to see that to resolve the conflict between B and D. See that this was the theory that we talked about, and then this was the explanation in terms of the example of what happens in case of price sensitivity. Transition words, of course, by contrast, so, then, for instance, used everywhere. So you can see how these approaches came into play, and the overall passage, I think it was not a very easy one but not a very difficult one either. You can expect something slightly heavier than this in cat. It was not easy, it was verbose. It had 6 sentences. It needed some decent level of thinking. I think it would have taken me 3 minutes or so. It easily above 2 minutes in an exam setting. So I hope this example gave you a good idea of what parajumbles, what kind of questions you can expect in a parajumble. And this had a lot of approaches involved in this. You can go through this video again, the solution to this particular question again, because it was a good example, I would say. So we'll start off in the upcoming lecture series with the easy level of parajumbles. We'll start off with very easy questions, and then we'll gradually move on to the harder part. So let's move on to the next lecture. Hope you enjoyed it.